This Sunday ticket from 2, hosted by Jake Duke, Mick Ennis, and the one, the only, Nathan Hindmarsh. First up, the hottest side in the comp, the Canberra Raiders.
The best show in town.
8 wins on the trot, if you don't mind.
There's some other guys that are just getting towed along here at the moment.
Now for the Newcastle Knights. 4 weeks ago, these two played out a 22-18 nail-biter. But that's the Knights, isn't it? Can they turn their hard luck around against the premiership front-runners? And at 4, come 4 o'clock Sunday, it's one for the ages, the Bulldogs and the Seagulls. 30 years ago, I know. How old does that make you feel?
Canterbury, they have first use of the football.
Manly went into the grand final short price favourites, but it didn't work out that way, did it?
Now it is definite, and they are the premiers. The Canterbury Bankstown Bulldogs.
The great Terry Lamb, Barber, the toast of the town. These current doggies are placed second on the ladder, with a brand new pup excelling in the spotlight.
Lachlan Galvin, he comes up with the biggest play in the game. Come at the moment, come at the man.
The Seagulls, they're 3 wins in a row, once again shooting for the finals.
Oh, what a shot.
They are swimming into the top 8.
Jake will see you there. Sunday ticket from 2, right here on Fox League.
Welcome to NRL 360 Rugby League from every angle, and joining me again, Dan Ganane. Let's bring the journos in, James Hooper and Michael Carianis. And what about the Sunday ticket on Fox League? 2 big games, starting with the entree, the Raiders taking on the Knights, finishing with the main meal, Dan. Bulldogs up against the Seagulls.
I can't wait for this game. Firstly, it's a great game on its own anyway. Canterbury near the top, Manly starting to come good. You can't trust them yet, but they're starting to come good. Then you throw in the 95 nostalgia. I think it's the greatest premiership win ever, just given all the things that went against them and the things they are railing against. And it's, I think it's a great thing they're celebrating at 30 years.
You got to love the history of that narrative, 95, the year the Dogs won the comp, because Dean Pay, Jared McCracken, Jason Smith, they'd all signed to go and play for Parramatta. It was in the middle of the Super League war, and it split the side, like they were at war. And Chris Anderson, the coach at the time, got them all together, took them to a local pub, said, boys, we're not leaving until we fix this. Finished 6th, went on a run. That is one of the great grand final boilovers. That Manly side back then was absolutely stacked. So I love the fact that they are celebrating 1995.
Yeah, they knocked off St George in week 1. Then they knocked off the Broncos. Now that's the 90s Broncos, Langer, Walters, Lazarus. They knocked off the 90s Raiders, Daly, Stewart, Mullins, everyone bar Mal because he'd retired, and then Manly had only lost 2 games all year. To add to your point, what you're saying, Chris Anderson had a rule, didn't he? They get together once a week, they could talk anything but footy. Because when they talked footy and what was going on with Super League and the 4 other players, it drove them apart. But that's what brought them together. And remarkable run.
So good. Can't wait for Sunday. So many storylines around this game. The Bulldogs taking on the Manly Seagulls. But Mick, you've got some news around Josh Papali'i. What's happening with him at the Raiders?
Yeah, I think everyone just assumed that Josh Papali'i was going to go to the Super League at the end of the season. He was linked to St Helens. And I'm not sure if it's because of his form, his origin recall, whatever the case may be, but he's made it clear to those close to him that he doesn't really want to go to the Super League. He wants to remain in the NRL, and that's caused the Raiders, it's caught them a little bit by surprise because they hadn't budgeted in their salary cap for him for next season. Look, obviously they'll move everything to try and fit him in next year, but at the moment, Josh Papali'i is on the market, and I think he's open to offers from rival clubs. Okay,
everyone thinks he's just going to stay with Canberra, and that's probably most likely. But
I'd say so, right? But it's not a foregone conclusion.
He will explore other clubs in the NRL.
I think he's open to listening, definitely open to listening, right? Because, you know, the form that he's in, the experience that he has, and the real lack of middles in the competition. You could sit down and rattle off 10, 12 sides, which could do with a middle like Josh Papali'i. The only issue that I think people believe is that, well, he probably won't leave. But once it inches closer towards next season, and the Raiders have already moved Pasami Sulo to the Newcastle Knights to make some salary cap space, not linked to Josh Papali'i. But, you know, the more it drags on, the other clubs are definitely going to have an inquiry around what his future may look like.
He's such a cornerstone of that club though, Mick, and I know how close he and his coach Ricky Stewart are. He's the most cap Raider of all time. Now, where the Raiders have been super smart over the course of the last 18 months, 2 years, is in the area of recruitment and retention. They made the right calls at the right time. Jordan Rapana wanted to play on, they let him go. Elliot Whitehead wanted to play on, they let him go. The Jack Whiten one was a little bit different. Jamal Fogarty, this year, they made the call. They weren't going to go 3 years and they stuck solid. I think they need to find a little bit of bend here, given everything that he has done for that club, Braith, and his form this year. I don't want to see him in any other colours.
I agree, but it's going to come down to dollars and cents.
Yeah.
Well, of course there'll be an element of loyalty there, and rightly so, and that would have power over and influence over whether he stays or not. What's he on now? What do you think they can offer him? And what's he worth on the open market?
I think he's on about 700, maybe a tick over, and I would suspect that he's probably got to be prepared to accept around half that to get one more year out.
Even that, it doesn't sound like much. Let's say 350. That's still enough to make a little dent in the salary cap.
It's going to be at the sacrifice of someone, Dan. There's no doubt that Canberra don't have the budget as it stands for Josh Papali'i for next season. So if he does play on and stays in Canberra, someone will have to move on. That's the reality of their situation at the moment.
I just wonder how he feels now. Right, obviously feels good, right? They're flying, fairy tale finish with Queensland. I wonder if that'll be different to how he feels in 10 weeks. They're about to have a fight. They've got 6 weeks to go until the finals. Finals run. We expect them to go deep. It's a lot of football to be played between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, he's a professional though, Dan, and he's one of those tough old war horses. I could never see Josh not being motivated to look. He wants to try and. Number one, his priority right now is to try and win this premiership with the Raiders, and they've opened a premiership window that I think not a lot of people saw coming. But I think he does genuinely believe that he's also still got another couple of seasons in.
It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out, Hoops. Now, the Raiders are flying. Kyo Week's about to extend his deal, and a lucrative one at that. Now, Chevy Stewart, what happens to him? And for those that, a lot of people know Chevy, but a lot may have lost touch because he hasn't played for quite a while. He is a rising star, and he'd get a lot of interest on the open market. So what's the situation with him at the moment?
I think there's a couple of clubs monitoring the Chevy Stewart situation. I think the Dragons and also the Sharks. The Sharks are still yet to do a deal with Will Kennedy. I think Cronulla only has around 300,000 available in terms of their salary cap for next season. So certainly those two clubs are monitoring the Chevy situation. I mean, the thing that caught the Raiders a little bit by surprise was the trajectory, did I get that word right? That young Kyo Weeks has taken off on this season. Nobody thought, like some of those tries he scored, the magic round try against Melbourne, I think you call that game against the Dragons, they are freakish, phenomenal, and they have dictated that they've had to bump him up. So they've actually extended him out until the end of 2029.
Geez, Cronulla, it's interesting you bring up. The Kennedy thing has been not reported, but just we haven't talked about that enough. He's been a very good fullback for them for a long time. And haven't they come out, Mick, and basically said, we can't embarrass him with an offer. We actually haven't made him a proper offer yet because we don't want to embarrass him by...
That's Hoops' point, right? The fact they only have around 350 left on the books for next season.
So he's probably going.
But where does he...
I think they definitely... As far as I know, I think they want to keep him. Like, he's been a key member of their spine for a number of seasons now. They're a bit top-heavy, Cronulla, in terms of their middle forwards. Like, they wanted to make a big splash and get Fanua Blake there this season. But I went through it today, and by the time you stack them all up, and I'm not saying they're not all very strong players, right? But by the time you stack it all up, it does appear as though that could be an area that maybe they might look to offload someone.
All right, now incoming Knights CEO Peter Parr has addressed the speculation regarding Adam O'Brien, insisting he's not aware of any plans to part ways with the coach.
The board had a discussion with Phillip. They decided that with his responsibilities, it'd be best time frame for them for him to step away at the end of this season. So
Adam O'Brien and Kalyn Ponga's future was called into question last week.
Well, I was surprised by the headlines. It seems that Adam's future There's a lot of speculation about that. Let me say that nobody's ever discussed Adam's future with me. Nobody above me has questioned Adam directly with me, so I was surprised that that came to being in some ways. Nobody has spoken to me about Adam not being the coach here going forward.
Newcastle CEO Peter Parr knows nothing about Adam O'Brien supposedly looking like his future may be over at the Knights next year. Said he hasn't heard anything about it. Bit strange, maybe? No?
I think he's trying to deflect and flat bat. And, you know, lots of people have got plenty of time and respect for Parr. He's had a lot of success in the game, was the boss of the Cowboys when JT led them to that premiership in 2015. But you're kidding. Like, we've all heard the noise. Anyone who picks the phone up or goes anywhere near Newcastle, it's the talk of the town. And whether he likes it or
surface from nowhere, did it?
Loose lips sink ships, Braith, right? And Phil Gardner, who's the outgoing CEO, Parry hasn't taken over yet, he talks to too many people. And that's how the story got out. Where the story was wrong was it said he was going to be gone last Tuesday. That hasn't happened. He will see the season out, but I would be surprised, and I feel for Adam O'Brien because he's made 4 finals out of 5 years. I don't think he's going to be there next year.
It's an interesting one because that performance that they put up on Sunday showed that they're still playing for the coach. You look at other coaches that are under pressure. You look at the Gold Coast Titans. You look at the North Queensland Cowboys, and the playing group isn't responding to the coach the way these Newcastle Knights side are under Adam O'Brien at the moment. Look, I think there's no doubt he's under pressure, but I'm definitely not declaring him gone yet.
Okay.
Not at all.
Why is that?
Well, because of the performances that they're still putting up, the conversations I've had with people.
You don't think it's a done deal, is it?
I don't think he's a certainty not to be there. No way. I'm not declaring that he's gone next year.
There's a big push on, and there's a big push on for Blake Green, who I'm not saying he won't make a very competent head coach at some point, but he's in charge of their attack at the moment, and their attack is one of the worst, diabolical. Putrid in terms of what they've been able to produce. That's not a knock on him, but I'm just saying it is a strange narrative. And then you've got the agents in the background, one of whom is very prominent and shall remain nameless, who's trying to, we all know who it is. The same bloke who did Galvin.
Well, who does he manage?
O'Brien and Blake Green.
Same agent.
Yeah. And he's got their recruitment officer as well in Peter O'Sullivan. He brokered that deal. And I think Adam Blair is working in Pathways at the moment.
We spoke about this, didn't we?
Adam Blair is at
his fingers all over it.
I'll say this about O'Brien, all right? The worst thing he does is press conferences. That's what gives him such a bad look. But when you look at the team, he's terrible at them, right?
But he's honest. That's too heavy.
No.
How's he terrible? He stuffed up with the fans.
I'm in defence of him.
He stuffed up with the line about the fans.
I think it creates a bad impression. I think he's better than what we give him credit for. They have made finals 4 of the last 5 years. And the thing about when players give up, what do? They stop defending. This team defends. They can't score. They don't have the halves. But they are playing for this coach. Whether he's the right guy moving forward, they are playing for this coach.
That's clear, right? That is clear off the back of they were bedridden on Saturday. The captain's run, I think they had 5 or 6 players at captain's run. They're on the phone all day Saturday. It was COVID times in terms of trying to work out who's going to play, who's not going to play. But I feel like he should be given an opportunity to start next season.
It was a monumental stuff-up insulting the Newcastle fans. You can never question that region and those supporters. They turn out rain, hail or shine, week in and week out. That was a stuff-up at a press conference. But otherwise, I reckon his biggest shortcoming...
And he acknowed that the next day. He stood up and
in fairness, he did. Well, he didn't have any other road to go.
It's always snide comments about what journalists are saying. Like, it's clearly living in his head. But I'm defending him. I'm just saying that's one aspect he's no good at, and that's the shop front window. What I'm saying is, I'd love to see him with halves to see if he can coach a team that has actually.
He had Mitch Pearce for a number of seasons,
and they made the finals. But he has that opportunity next year with the investment in Dylan Brown.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. I know you're saying you think he might be a good chance, but with all the noise that's been going on there, Mick, I think you might have had him in the sand a bit.
They've only ever won one finals game out of all those finals.
Yeah, this is it. He makes finals, but they've only ever gone to week 2 once.
All right, as for Kalyn Ponga's future, the game's highest paid player is staying put for now.
And as far as Kalyn is concerned, I thought his statement was very clear. People have said to me that he might have gone more in depth, but my view on that doesn't matter whether it was 2 pages, 2 paragraphs, 2 sentences. What he said was still clear.
There was a report last week after that you had to convince him to stay. Is that the case?
Well, nobody will know because it was a private conversation between me and him, so I haven't said that. But look, he was very positive from the very first minute of that meeting. He and I agreed that conversation would remain confidential, and I have no appetite to go back on my word.
Okay, a lot of rumours around Kalyn for a long period of time now, whether he's staying, whether he's going, is he restless, does he want to go to rugby, does he, it's endless. And the big question is though, did Peter Parr have to convince Kalyn to stay? Do we know anything about that? He wasn't willing to divulge that private conversation, but he didn't shut it down either.
No, I think we can only speculate on what was said because, as Peter Parr said, I've spoken to Peter Parr and he wouldn't tell me what was said in those conversations. But there's no doubt there had to be a roadmap of what the future looks like for Newcastle in terms of some stability in and around the playing group. And you'd assume, this is my assumption here, the coaching staff.
Kalyn's had itchy feet for a long time, and if I'm a Knights supporter, that's a little bit hard to cop because he's the highest paid player in the game. He's played more than Nathan Cleary, he's played more than Cameron Munster, Jerome Hughes, all the superstars in the game. And he gets injured a lot. That's not a fault, right? That's part of rugby league. But in terms of value for money, he was brought to the club. They've invested 7 years, very good money, into trying to help make him be able to get them closer to the promised land. And they aren't really any closer. And the fact that he's always restless, his old man, Team Ponga, they were sussing out rugby union. They heard about this R360 thing and they did pick up the phone and they did engage.
Do you know that?
Absolutely, I know that for 100%.
Okay.
And they did engage a Kiwi agent and they were having a look in Japan and he was having a look in Europe, but he can't get the folding, right, that he's getting off Newcastle.
Must have been a hell of a Churchillian speech he was given because we had on the same day, Joey wrote a piece, feel free to leave, Kalyn. We've got other problems to solve, but off you go and good luck to you. And that same day he says, no, I'm not going anywhere, I'm committed to 2027. I'd love to know what was said.
The conspiracy theory is that Kalyn's been told, Mick, that the coach won't be there next year.
Or that the coach is going to be there, Braith.
So you think it's that?
It could be. Who's to say it's not?
So why would he try and go then if he's happy with the coach?
But who's to like?
Why would he speak to rugby union?
It could be either way. It could be either. You can't assume that the coach is definitely going to go. And he's staying because we don't know what happened in that room. Could be equally to the coach is going to stay.
You're ducking and Mick.
Well, how am I ducking?
You're ducking and diving.
So you know what happened in that meeting?
No, I'm not. Well, not about the meeting. Not about the specifics of the meeting.
How can we guarantee what's going to happen next year?
You're tight with O'Brien,
and?
So you're running a bit of a protection.
How's that a protection?
There, right?
The fact that I don't know if he's going to be the coach there.
Right? This bloke has had itchy feet.
So you know he's going to be the coach next year.
Newcastle,
Because my point was around the coach,
his entire career.
Yeah, I agree with that. Okay.
There's constant speculation around whether he's committed.
That wasn't the question.
To me, as a leader of the club, that's, and you know, Braith, you've captained
I agree with that, but that was not what we were talking about.
No, but you're ducking and diving and
ducking and diving
around O'Brien.
I think I don't know he's going to be sacked. Do you know he's going to be sacked?
I'll be surprised if he's there.
Do you know something we don't know? Because you seem pretty...
I'm not confident at all, right, that he's going to be there next year. But I don't think it's a dead set certainty that he won't be there. That's all I'm saying.
I think Kalyn, whatever it is, knows who's coaching, or certainly if Adam O'Brien is or not. We just don't know yet. But I think he knows. There's no way you're going to recommit for another 2 years if you don't get some assurance what the future is.
All right, let's get to our favourite topic, Galvin. His second chance at halfback this weekend. Do we expect any improvement on last weekend? I know a lot of people are like, why are we still talking about him? But it's a big situation. It's a big topic. We just highlighted how important this game is for the Bulldogs and the Manly Seagulls at the top of the show. He gets his second crack. He come up with the match winner in that first opportunity. Do we expect him to get even better this week?
You'd have to, just because more time spent gelling with the team. You would hope it would get a little bit better. It needs to. But this is a big opportunity because it's good opposition. They're a very good daytime team, Canterbury. I think we're going to see the best of them. But yes, the focus... Listen, we can do this topic, and you and Gordy can do this topic every week for the rest of the season.
We probably will.
You probably will, and I've got to be so I was shocked when he said it's time for our favourite topic. I thought, here we go, West Tigers chat again. But no, it's Galvin.
We haven't spoken to them for a while.
No,
they're on the rundown next week.
But I expect them to improve. I expect them incrementally to get better by the week.
It was interesting listening to some of the Bulldogs players talk today, Dan, where they were all speaking about defence and how everything that they've achieved this year has been built around this system that Cameron Ciraldo has built and implemented at Canterbury Bankstown that teleported them to the top of the competition table. There wasn't a lot about the attack, but the attack is why Galvin is now wearing that number 7 jumper. Braith, I thought we saw enough from him last Saturday night, a silky pass at the end, a great support try earlier in the opening half. He's a work in progress. He's only 20 years old, but I got no doubt that they will be better in the long run with him wearing that jumper.
Yeah, I don't think they win the game without him because who in that side is throwing that, in that club, is throwing that pass that he did to win the game. So simply, I think they will get better with him there.
I think they need to get better though. They need to get better. Oli Kuatu, you think he's got his eyes set on kick-outs?
I love this battle. I was looking at some old vision of these two when they've clashed previously with Manly and Canterbury, week 1 of the finals last year, and then also leading into the finals last year. And they play, Hamoli's back on the right side for Manly, Billy's on the left for the Dogs. You got DC and Burton parked in the halves feeding them the ball, and these two will go at it. It could be the Raging Bull-esque, I am thinking.
All right, the Seagulls are soaring for 3 straight wins. Has Siebes' speculation died down now? Is he in the comfort zone?
He's in a holding pattern, I would say, Braith. I wouldn't say the comfort zone.
A holding pattern, okay.
I think, look, credit to Anthony Seibold where credit is due. That was an epic, gutsy win to go down to Melbourne, old boys' day, and to come up with the right answers against the competition favourites. You can't take anything away from that. But they're still in negotiations to try and sort the Turbo brothers out. We all know DC is going. He hasn't really explained the real entire reasoning behind why he's made that decision. It's still an unsettled style of a joint. I don't think they're all on the same page, and I don't think they all truly believe in what he's always selling.
They proved nothing on Saturday except they can beat really good teams. But we talked about this last night. That's not the problem for Manly. The problem is when they play the lesser teams, and if they put a score on Canterbury this week, you wouldn't be shocked. They did it to them last year late in the regular season. But then what are they going to do the 2 weeks after that? That's the problem.
And that's been the problem for 2 years, really. That consistency, the best and worst, there's too much of a gap. But as for Siebes, look, they're in the top 8 at the moment. They stay in the top 8, he'll be right.
Right. Now, I hear the Trbojevic boys are talking to the club at the moment. Jake expected to take a haircut. Where are they at with this, do you know? Yeah,
look, I love Jake Trbojevic, along with Josh Papali'i. He's one of my favourite players, just because the effort, and you know that everything with him is going to be whatever he's got in the tank every week. But I think at this stage of his career and at the point that he's at, he understands. He's not being unreasonable about the fact that I think he's on nearly $1 million at the moment. So he's well aware that he's probably going to have to accept around half of that. I think that's where the market sits at the moment. He won't play for any other club other than Manly. He's stated that numerous times. And Tommy, I think the club will probably get to around the 800, 850 mark, which I think, given where he's at and the injuries he's had and everything, that's probably about right too.
All right, in-form hooker Blake Brailey has rejected Cronulla's initial contract offer, but their skipper is confident the number 9 is staying put.
His whole family's entrenched in the club. Obviously Jaden's moved on, but he started here, and I know how much the club means to him. So I would imagine Lake would want to be here, and the club, of course, they'd want him here as well. So they'll work hard to get that done, but I don't think it'd be too tough a thing to get over the line, I'm pretty sure.
Oh, this is an interesting one. Blake Brailey, the in-form 9, if not the in-form player of the competition as we speak. He's a Cronulla junior, a Cronulla local through and through, lives there. His dad works for the club, his family grew up there, but he's rejected their first offer. Not Pennick Stations. Why?
Aquinas Colts junior, Braith, and I think the Black, White and Blue have made a grave error here in they've just been a little slow out of the gates. And I'd even go as far as to say they've probably lowballed him, because if this young bloke and the dynamic running game that he's shown over the course of the last month continues to go the way that it is,
what do you call
if he's available as of November 1, I would suspect that plenty of clubs, possibly even someone like the Perth Bears, going to be a start-up joint, would pay up to $1 million to try and land his signature, because you can build a club around him.
You can, and he's off 27?
Yes.
So it's 26. Good timing. Yeah, but for 27? So that's good timing for the Bears, even PNG the year after.
He's young enough and he's important enough as a number 9 to be a perfect target for that club.
You said low ball though. What have they offered him? What roundabouts, do you know?
I don't think it's anywhere near. Yeah, I'd say it's around 650 or something that, right? I don't think it's anywhere near where it needs to be.
Where does it need to be?
Like I said, I think if I'm looking at the Perth Bears and the names we keep hearing, they're going to target players of the ilk and stature in the game, people like Tino Fasuamal-Awi, Cameron Munster and Blake Brailey. To me, that makes a lot of sense. Great leaders and an emerging young talent. Tino's got an option in his deal, which means that he is available, and Cameron, he'd have to have a conversation with the Storm.
The other issue and the stumbling block has been the length of the contract. Brailey's camp want 5 years, so it's a 6-year essentially agreement to remain there because he's got 12 months on his contract. The Sharks deal was for 3 extra seasons, so 4 more years. So that's quite significant as well when you sit down and break down the deal. He's the form player of the competition.
Yeah.
I think James Tedesco has been the best player of the competition, but he's been the form player of the competition. And so much so, like, you know, he's outplayed Harry Grant, he's outplayed Reece Robson over the past month or so. He's been outstanding.
In my opinion, this is a bit of wheeling and dealing. He won't go anywhere and the Sharks will come to the table. Now, if you haven't heard it already, Kevin Walters is the new Kangaroos coach. Today, we finally heard from the great man.
Really proud, firstly and foremost, to be given the opportunity to coach the Kangaroos. I've certainly played as a Kangaroo many times, but now to get the opportunity to coach them, it's really exciting and I feel really privileged. 12-month contract, the opportune time for me to come in and get some hard work done and prepare these guys for what will be a very tough series. I just want to explain to those players that are contemplating. I totally understand their situation, but let's get the Kangaroos opportunity in front of them and see where they're at with that.
Your desire to be an NRL coach in the future, how is that going to work?
Yeah, my desire is to coach the Kangaroos, mate. I'm certainly really thrilled about the opportunity that I've been given.
Can we rule you out of an NRL job next year?
Certainly. At the moment, my focus is the Kangaroos. England will be tough, and we've got to be ready to take that toughness on.
Congratulations to Kevy, the new Australian coach. We love him here at Fox League. He's an absolute legend and what an opportunity it is for the great man. I'm very excited for him and I'm looking forward to him getting the opportunity because he deserves it, Kevy, and I think he's going to do a really good job.
I love this appointment, boys. From a proud rugby league family out of Ipswich, he's worn the green and gold, he's coached the Maroons, took the Broncos to a grand final. Kevy is absolutely the best candidate for that job, and I'll tell you what he might be able to do. He might just be able to flip Payne Haas and Tino from playing for Samoa. He's very close with Payne Haas from his time at the Broncos. He might just be able to convince him to continue to wear the green and gold.
This is actually a no-brainer. In all honesty, you mentioned what he did with Queensland and tours, Braith. What do they need? They need a good man-managing a player's coach.
He's fun.
And he's a perfect Chris Anderson style.
Yeah, true.
Let the players have their way a little, but when it's time to get serious, we get serious, coach.
Mick, what's the go with these hotels and grounds that everyone's been harping on about? Are they all sorted? Or
I was speaking to the NRL, apparently there was an issue that Brad Fittler faced while he ruled out of the job, ruled himself out of the job, but the NRL have everything booked. It's just on hold because they wanted to speak to the coach and ensure the coach was happy with where the accommodation was, what the training fields would look like, what training days would be. So it's all in place for Kevin to go and rubber stamp it all and have a smooth transition into the head coaching role of the Australian side.
Beautiful, that's great to hear. We can put that to bed. The Roosters are desperate to stay in the finals race and Trent Robinson has a simple message.
We're pretty clear on how we want to attack the game tomorrow night and how we want to play some Roosters footy. I feel like we've missed it a little bit. We've played it a lot this year, but all that matters is playing that tomorrow night.
So how have you seen the combo between Hawks and Sandon?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. They're really close. They know each other really well. They haven't played a lot together in those specific roles, but they've also played Roosters style a lot. So trust our system and also trust their combination as friends and an intuition there about how they like playing the game.
Robbo says they need to play Roosters footy. I got asked today, what is Roosters footy? And a few years ago, I could have answered that. But
Sombrero?
If,
No, that's I'm joking. I'm winding him up.
One week.
I'm winding him up.
1 week in the seat.
No,
He's under the blowtorch.
I withdraw my comments.
Hello, Nick.
Withdraw my comments. No,
my phone's going as well.
I bought a car off him too, full price.
He's backtracking. Do you know Nick's like the mafia? You'll be gone within a few days. Anyway, where were we? Roosters footy. In all honesty, I think you could identify what that was. There was a certain style they played a few years back, or even since Robbo's had them, right? But at the moment, I don't quite know what that is. They've struggled with errors, and they haven't been able to get that continuity and rhythm in their game. They've kind of shot themselves in the foot. But when they're at their best, I still don't know what Roosters footy is. Do you guys know?
When you say Roosters footy, all I'm thinking of Tedesco bouncing around in the middle and Radley ball playing, that sort of footy. Yeah. Am I sort of in the ballpark there?
I think he thinks more like tough and in their face and bashing them. And then, of course, the footy off the back of that. But there was a style where they were consistent a few years ago where they would control the footy, they'd bash teams, and then they had the
Well, they don't have Aura
finesse.
I'd go back to those premiership winning years of 2018 and 2019 when it was Jarrett, it was Boyd, it was Jake Friend.
Yeah.
They had some real steel. They had a hard edge. They went after sides with baseball bats. And then they were also flamboyant and would take risks. And Robbo, if you look at the raw numbers, the Roosters, they often make a lot of errors, get heavily penalised and make a lot of offloads. Like they do like to try and chance their arm to a degree. But people often shake their heads and get a bit mystified about what Roosters football actually means.
I think they need to show us what that is, because at the moment it's hard to identify. You're an accredited rugby league coach, aren't you, Mick?
It is hard to identify.
Do you
because
coach rugby league?
Not anymore. No,
Okay.
No, I did. Yeah.
You got your Cert 1 or your Cert 2?
I had my 2. Anyway, it is hard to identify because of the turnover of players, right, and the injuries that they've had, and Sam Walker just coming back. So I'm like you. I'm not exactly sure what this year of. What do you want to say?
I was going to ask
Here we go.
Could you coach a first grade rugby league team?
No.
No, okay.
I think they were looking for their soul last week too. That was Robbo's press conference in the lead up to the Cronulla game. They haven't found their soul yet. Yeah, there's a little bit of eat, pray, love. Hang on, we just got Uncle Nick on the phone again.
Tell him I said hi.
Yes, we can confirm he's in all sorts of trouble.
Make sure security walk you to the car tonight, right? Journos, your key player matchup for round 21, thanks to Aussie Broadband, is?
I'm going the Chooks in Melbourne tomorrow night at Allianz. Cannot wait. And Sammy Walker up against Jerome Hughes.
Yeah, the blockbuster at the SFS for mine. Bronson Sherry back gets the mark, Tom Trbojevic.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mick. Thank you, Hoops. Up next, it's the Legends Agenda with Justin Hodges and James Graham. Welcome back. Now it's time for the Legends Agenda with Justin Hodges and James Graham. Welcome, Legends.
Thank you, gents. How are you?
Very good to see you again. I haven't seen you for a while. Now, the Bulldogs, 1995, celebrating that grand final at Allianz on the weekend. Pretty special day, Jimmy.
It sure is, Braith, and I've got to give credit to everybody at the football club for the operation, moving the game to Allianz, the honouring of the past. It was a huge year for the football club. It is quite the story, and great to see them coming up against Manly at Allianz this Sunday afternoon.
Did you have to be taught? You would have been a young man in England, obviously. You're probably not aware of the story. Were you aware of? When were you made aware of it all?
I know there's a pub involved. I know that they're coming down near the bottom. Obviously, Super League war impending. So, we learnt that history pretty quickly, and it is a remarkable story, almost unheralded in today's game.
I know you're going to have an opinion on the Galvin experiment, so I'll go to Hodjo first, come back to you. Everyone's got an opinion on this. People are split. How have you seen it so far?
Look, to be honest, I would like to see the Bulldogs stick with Toby Saxon. I think he's done the job through most of the year. I think obviously young Galvin, he's still got a lot of proving to do, and I just think that at the side of the Bulldogs, they've got so many superstars in their team and so many guns that all Toby Saxon had to do all year was just feed them the ball. And it sort of reminds you back when Shane Perry came in 06 and played halfback. All he had to do was just turn the middles over to Lockie one of the ball and then give it to the outside backs, and then everything else took care of itself. So, look, I know, and look, Galvin's might test the ball a little bit too in terms of he might want to shine on the big stage, and I think come finals time that might bring him undone.
Right. See, I think it increases the potential of the Bulldogs football side. And with 7 weeks to go before final starts, when it really truly does become a new competition, I think Galvin playing well increases the chance for them to win finals game. I look back to last year against the Manly Seagulls, and I thought the Bulldogs were the better team in that playoff game, but it was DCE and ultimately the spine of Manly that got them through. So with the touch of class that Galvin can bring, I think it makes them in a better position come the finals time.
It's very hard, Braith, to think of a team that wins grand finals, goes through a finals run purely on defence. You have to be one or two in defence, but you have to have attack to go with it. I was thinking, going all the way back, I'm thinking like the Dragons in 2010 were a defensive team, but then you looked at Darius Boyd at fullback, you had Brett Morris still in the team, Gaznia came back from France. That you got to have something, got to have some flair.
Now, do you think Wayne Bennett with the Bunnies, can he make it work? Can he win with that roster? Can he get them going? Whether it's not this year's maybe a foregone conclusion, but next year?
Next year, I think he needs probably a halfback. I think he needs a solid halfback who's going to direct the side a lot. And obviously, Cody Walker's still going to be there, but he's an aging Cody Walker. He's obviously injured a lot. And I think they still got Latrell, they still got Jack Whiten, they still got Cam Murray to come back as well. So there's still some great talent that side, but I think the number one thing they're missing at the moment is leadership around in the halves. And obviously they've got their 9 problem as well, but I think for Wayne to go further, and Wayne's always had good halfbacks in his sides. He's always had leaders, he's always had directors that's going to steer his ship around. I think that's the one thing he's missing.
Is it injuries that are the problem? Because that's kind of the argument, well, not the argument, but a lot of people saying it's just injuries. But is there a bigger problem than the injuries?
Look, they have been by far and away the team that has been affected most in terms of games missed by players that would impact their team. I'm talking about Latrell, Cody, and more importantly, Cam Murray. When I look at their team, I agree with what you say in terms of that halfback, but for me, they are light on in the middle. They really are, and there's been some honourable performances from their middle. You can't doubt their efforts, but they just light on in the middle. And when Murray was injured before a ball was kicked, it spelt danger signs, and some of those players have lifted their game, but ultimately they're still a few short.
News today, Kevin Walters finally announced as Kangaroos coach. You worked with him during an Origin camp. What are the qualities he's going to bring to the Kangaroos?
Look, obviously I worked with him in Origin. He was assistant coach at the Bronx as well. And the one thing Kev is big on is passion. His passion and his pride for the jerseys that he's worn. I think that's probably the number one thing. And if you coach a Kangaroo side, you don't have to be the best coach, right? You just got to be a coach. You can manage the guys, especially when you're on tour, you're 6-8 weeks away in a hotel. It's about managing those emotions. So I think Kevy's going to bring a lot of that passion and pride. And at the moment, there's a lot of guys weighing up whether they're going to play for the Kangaroos. So he's going to put his mark on that straight away, saying that I think he'll just go, well, if you don't want to play for the Kangaroos, you're done. So I reckon that's the type of leadership that he'll implement into his side.
All right, the Warriors. Boys, I need to talk about the Warriors. We were supposed to touch on that match-winning Halasima try at the start of the week. We ran out of time, and I've been copying it from
Will you make time, Braith?
We're making time now.
Good.
All right, and you know what? I love it because New Zealand now, they are loving the way the Warriors are going. They're watching NRL 360. The game is growing over there, and how good are they going?
Yeah, you just wish Metcalf and Barnett were fit this time of year. They've obviously, it looks like they've cemented that spot in the top 4, but with some of the young players that they've got, headlined by Halasima.
What a try that was.
That's not the first time he's done it. He can do this on a regular basis. The teenager, look at this.
Crazy.
What about this? I mean, he's 19. The signs are good. The game over there across the ditch is going great guns, and it's all down to the Warriors.
Harris Tavita is playing much better than we're giving him credit for, because Metcalf has got all the attention, and deservedly. He was leading Dally M's and a star, but Harris Tavita's touches have been really, really good. That was a huge win on Sunday, because they have to finish top 4, right? They got no chance if they don't finish top 4 with Metcalf and Barnett out, but makes it harder for the chasing teams.
Up the Waz.
Up the Waz. There you go.
They're killing it at the moment.
Talk more about the up the Waz as the year goes on. Don't worry about that, okay? So there you go. The Gold Coast Titans, there's a lot going on there. We've speculated about the coach. We've spoken about, well, I mean, Paul Crawley said it's where coaches go to die.
The Bermuda Triangle.
The Bermuda Triangle was mentioned. It was a very dark,
Morose.
dark, I suppose, representation of the club. But where have they got it wrong? Where have they got to be better? How do they fix it?
For me, observing the Gold Coast, they're in a special geographical place. And I think sometimes when coaches go there, they try and copy and paste what has worked at other clubs. And they try and lean out of the holiday destination, the relaxed lifestyle. Well, if that's not working, why not lean into that? We talk about teams' DNA and their identity. Well, maybe the Gold Coast is a place for a bit more of a relaxed approach. For me personally, I think it's worth trying. Because it's not worked at the moment. That super hard approach when you live on the beach and it's beautiful there. Why not lean into that instead of leaning out of that?
So if you're saying that, do you think the Walker brothers might be an option? Because they're very laid back, different attacking
They
style.
see the game very differently. It would be a huge roll of the dice. But whoever gets that job, I think you need to lean into what you've got rather than fight against it and put restrictions on the life that you live. I think lean into that.
Hodjo, you go to the Gold Coast, we all go there. It's a popular place to go. You very, very rarely see a jersey, right? Well, he's like, what are you giggling? What, see? As soon as I mention the Gold Coast, you think shifty, going out, partying. No, I mean, you very rarely see a jersey in the street, a kid wearing it like from Burleigh to Cooley to,
It's all AFL.
You don't see
AFL's
it.
bought up the area and done a very good job of buying up the area. And that is a challenge. You go through, I know you're on a different tangent, Braith, but you go through the whole area, not just surfers and Broady, but the whole area, and it's just AFL everywhere because they're trying to buy the love of the people.
Success too, like they haven't had success since they've come into the comp, and I think it starts at the leadership of the players. I think they haven't got a strong leadership group in terms of and I'm only just talking from when we came in. We had guys like Webke and Tallis, and if you stood at a line and you didn't follow the rules, you get pulled back in very quickly, or you get shafted out as well. So I just think there's too much leniency. Obviously, there's a lot of pressure on the coach, but I think the players ain't taking responsibility there.
All right, now it's time for What Do You Love and Thanks to Maccas. Who's starting first? Jimmy, I'll come to you.
One place. I mean, Sunday, Allianz, the nod to the past, it's going to be a great occasion, and I hope that the Dogs fans get out there and really support what once was, obviously that premiership winning team, and obviously this new team that is there, the new kids on the block.
You had the point going, then I've got to be
worried. Got a couple of weeks for that. Mate, I'd like to talk about the Wales, but we've already done that. Look, I'm going to talk about, obviously, the Broncos up against Parramatta going for 6 straight. I think this is great signs for the Broncos. Obviously, it's been a bit of an up and down year, so hopefully they can finish the rest of the season strong.
All right, boys, good work. The Aussies are 2-0 up against the West Indies after this morning's T20 win. Australia have the chance to seal the series on Saturday at 9 a.m. with every ball live on ESPN.
Ain't as good as
It's dangerous contact. Contact's on report. And because it's a third goal, the penalty's in front. He'll go himself if he's not careful, Jimmy. One-on-one tackle from Hodges. The Cinderella story has come true for the Penrith Panthers.
Cassiano's there with Chambers, and now there may have been a bit of a punch thrown.
We've got to go as well.
Well, Chambers to the sin bin.
Welcome back. Time now for Ain't As Good As I Once Was. And after the weekend with Desi and his coaching and he's going crazy in the sheds, we thought we'd talk about the chaotic, the crazy coaching or coaches over the years. Maybe some stories you've had of some coaches going a bit mad. We saw this on the weekend. Desi, don't see this too often.
I've seen that. I love the intensity dialogue. It's like, get in, get it. No, get, like he just goes and goes and goes. I've seen this movie before somewhere.
Hodjo, you got one for us over. You would have had plenty of coaches.
Mate, I've had some wild coaches over my years. Hopefully he's not watching the show now, but a guy that back to 2009, 2010, Ivan Henjak, mate, he was a very, very angry man. I remember times if you come in and you lose it at half time, he would dead set stare a hole through you and you looked like you just wanted to throw something at you. I remember the whole 2010 season when I was out my first Achilles and I'd come in after the game, to start training on a Monday. As soon as someone has a bit of a giggle, he'd just turn around and I reckon if he had something he would.
What was his nickname? First name Ivan, I won't say the second.
Yes, yeah.
But if you think about it, you might find it.
Yes, that was his name.
Jimmy, Des, is it yours, Des, too? Or?
Yeah, of course it is. Look, I owe a lot to the man. Congratulations on his 500th, but geez, he was intense. A lot of people have different learning styles, and obviously some people use the video, but Des, he liked to actually make examples or teach you examples in his coach's office by wrestling you and squeezing you and like making you get up. And first thing on a Monday morning, it could be quite uncomfortable when you've got your gaffer on top. You going, "Can you get up? I'm squeezing you. This is how you squeeze, pal. Can you get up?" And you're like, "No, coach, I can't. You're right. I'll do that next week." So that was Des giving classic examples on how to control the ruck.
Hi, Joe. Ricky Stewart. I had Ricky. You had Ricky. And I've heard he's mellowed out a bit these days. But back in the day, Sticky was such a competitive coach. But I remember this was only one of many stories. But we were at Allianz and we were losing at half time, and the forwards weren't going too good. He pulled them into the strapping room and just went to town on them. You could hear the chairs going, everything, and we're just all sitting there, all the backs, just sort of giggling, not knowing what to say or do, but he'd fire up, wouldn't he, Stick?
He'd fire up. I remember even when we got back after the World Club Challenge in 2003, and we went back just to obviously, we got back at like midday, so he didn't want us to go home and go to bed. So everyone still had a few beers, obviously, because we won. So we'd come back and everyone was just playing a bit of touch. And he's come out from the video room just screaming out of his rocket because they've dropped balls. If you blokes drop any more balls, that's it. Then got us all on swore and carried on. We all on the line running 100-metre sprints.
Oh, I did them as well.
Just because all we had to do was go to the trainer just so we had to kill time, not to go to bed, and everyone's just throwing the ball around. Some players weren't even playing.
Yeah, we did 100 hundreds once. That was fun. Yeah, very enjoyable. Thank you, boys. Enjoy the footy over the weekend. And up next, it's Joel Kane's weekend forecast. And following us, it's The Fan. Welcome back. It's time for an update from Sportsbet from the great Joel Kane. Love this time of the week.
Oh.
You've always got something really good for us, you know?
I hope so, Braith. I hope so. And I want to talk about Dally M Hooker of the Year. Could this guy win it? Not Sam Healey, who I'm going to show you. Saying, why are you showing me Sam Healey?
Yeah.
This guy was a Sharks junior. Okay, so this is about round 14. And he was just run, Forrest, run. He just kept running and running and running. Up until this very game, Blake Brailey was running for about 30 metres a game, right? And this Sharks junior who came through with his brother, Taj, he just kept running and running. And it's like Fitzgibbon said, mate, look at this. Okay. And now you see one marker and Brailey's off. Since that day, he's averaging about 90 metres a game.
So you think that was the trigger?
I'm convinced it's the trigger. Yeah. And I'm convinced because of that trigger, I've thrown this guy here, Blake Brailey, big shoulders there, by the way, that's a compliment. I'm throwing him into the bingo. So we've got bingo. You go to the NRL Weekly Hub. And we need any 5 of these players. Blake's going to be there. Ethan Strange is going to be there. We are loaded. We are locked. $9. But we've also got, boys, NRL Weekly Hub. We've gone the NRLW.
Okay.
We've gone the Tegan Berry try-scoring machine. Mackenzie Wiki, the daughter, Andy Robinson, who does a bit of work here at Fox, I believe.
Saw her today.
There you go, folks. That's on the NRL Weekly Hub. Enjoy your week, and we shall see you next time.
He's finding a lot of winners on Get 'em Onside, bro.
A
$31, a $61. After Matty Johns on a Thursday and Sunday night as well.
You've been on fire.
Thank you.
I'll see you next week. Thank you for the week.
I've loved it, bro.
You've been outstanding.
I'll take security to my car, but I've loved it.
Gordy's a bit nervous, I think.
No, you don't have to be nervous. All care, no responsibility, the beauty of the fill-in guy.
All right, that's it for NRL 360 for this week. Now it's time for The Fan.
Imagine what you could be buying instead. For free and confidential support, call the number on the screen or visit the website.